Hello, my TBDs. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to 2019 book favorites. So if you guys have been following me for a little while, you've seen my monthly favorites videos. I do a once a month video reviewing all of my favorite makeup products, all of my favorite lifestyle things, and one thing I've really enjoyed including in those videos are books. My goal for 2019 was to read 35 books. My goal for 2020 is to read 40. So we're just kind of like incrementally upping it. But I wanted to sit down and share my top 10 favorite books that I read from 2019. This is going to be a video geared towards my readers out there. So if you are here for the makeup, it's okay. Come back next video and we will resume original programming. But I wanted to take a second and just highlight some of the favorite books that I loved to read. If you guys are looking for recommendations, or I don't know, I love reading book reviews. So I'm all about it. And I wanted to share those with you. So if you guys like these types of videos, be sure to give this one a thumbs up so I know. And don't forget to subscribe because I do upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am sweating in this sweater. It's so cozy, but it's like, ugh. Okay, so first I'm gonna hop in with my physical books that I have here with me. There are a few that I'm going to reference from my Goodreads app. It's basically how I track all of my books that I'm currently reading, books that I want to read in the future, all of that good stuff. So there are some that I borrowed from the library, borrowed from friends, family that I have given back and I don't physically have with me, but I wanted to share my physical copies here first. I love physical copies of books. They're my favorite. Let's go ahead and hop into the books. I don't know if I'm gonna do it in like chronological order, like my number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm just gonna be sharing overview of all of my top 10 books. And disclaimer, I do have some series in here and I can't just pick one book out of the series. I'm gonna recommend just like the whole series in itself. The first book I wanna mention is The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. It could be Dot Hutchinson, I think. I loved this book. So this is for sure a mystery book. I loved the way that it was written. If you are a mystery reader, then you would love this. And I'm gonna read the backs of the books just so you guys get an idea of what it's about. But I loved how creatively this was written. I read it, I think, in 2 days because it just was one of those books that you started reading and then you had to find out what happened. So you just could not stop. So it said, beauty never looked so terrifying. Near an isolated mansion lies a beautiful garden. In this garden grows luscious flowers, shady trees, and a collection of precious butterflies, young women who have been kidnapped and intricately tattooed to resemble their namesakes. Overseeing it all is the gardener, a brutal, twisted man obsessed with capturing and preserving his lovely specimens. When the garden is discovered, a survivor is brought in for questioning. FBI agents Victor Hanoverian and Brandon Edison are tasked with piecing together one of the most stomach-churning cases of their careers. But the girl, known only as Maya, proves to be a puzzle herself. As her story twists and turns, slowly shedding light on life in the butterfly garden, Maya reveals old grudges, new saviors, and horrific tales of a man who'd go to any length to hold beauty captive. But the more she shares, the more the agents have to wonder what she's still hiding. Okay, so I think that there are more books in the series as well. Haven't read them, but I would highly recommend this one if you are into mystery thrillers, and it wasn't like too gory or anything. And I wouldn't say it was necessarily a horror book, but it was definitely one that grabbed my attention and I loved the details in this book. I loved how the author was able to like describe this butterfly garden world so well and just so mysteriously. So I loved this book. This next book is the complete opposite of the one that I first mentioned. This is called The Nature Fix, and it says it's a lively exploration of what modern research has to say about the myriad health benefits of the great outdoors. It says why nature makes us happier, healthier, and more creative. So I freaking loved this book. It was so informative. It talked so much about our bodies and what is happening chemically in our brain when we are outside, what happens when we're smelling in different kinds of trees, what it does to our mental health, what it does over a long period of time when you spend time outdoors, and then like also what activities are best when you are outdoors for mental health. And then it talked about really interesting societies like across the world that have different programs that really emphasize being outside. So I loved it. It says, and on the back it says, from forest trails in Korea to islands in Finland to eucalyptus groves in California, Florence Williams investigates, oh, that's the author, by the way, Florence Williams. Flores Williams investigates the science behind nature's positive effects on the brain. Delving into brand new research, she uncovers the powers of the natural world to improve health, promote reflection and innovation, and strengthen our relationships. As our modern lives shift dramatically indoors, these ideas and the answers they yield are more urgent than ever. I thought it was so good, so engaging, so helpful for me to know, because I am an avid hiker, love being outside, love doing all things in the mountains, and it was so cool to hear like physically what's going on research-wise that makes nature so beneficial. So I loved reading this book, thought it was so informative and awesome. Jumping into young adults. This is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. I thought this was so good. Holly Black, I've decided I've really like Holly Black, and I plan to read more of her books in the future. I have actually borrowed a few from friends that I want to read more by Holly Black, because this girl knows how to write, you guys. It says, here's the back, okay? Tana lives in a world where walled cities are called cold towns exist. In them, quarantine monsters and humans mingle in a decadently bloody mix of predator and prey. And once you pass through Cold Town's gates, you can never leave. One morning after a perfectly ordinary party, Tana wakes up surrounded by corpses. The only other survivors of this massacre are her exasperately endearing ex-boyfriend, infected and on the edge, and a mysterious boy burdened with this terrible secret. Shaken and determined, Tana enters a race against the clock to save the three of them the only way she knows how, by going straight to the wicked, opulent heart of Cold Town itself. It was so good. I would say this is definitely one of my top books that I read in 2019. Yes, it's a young adult's book, but it was just so good, so captivating, so engaging. It talks about this cold town, like I said in the back of the book. There's this cold town that they go to, and it's all about this like world in Cold Town and what they have to go to be able to like cure these people and what that looks like. Yeah, I originally borrowed this from a friend, and I just had to buy it for myself. So I love this, would definitely reread this in the future. It's such a good young adult story. Okay, been filming for 9 minutes and I'm 3 books in. I don't know, I feel like reading the back of it is just super helpful to understand really what the deal is with each of these books better than I could describe the book. So if you want me to do this differently in the future, let me know. I just feel like it's a good way to share what the book is really about. This one's a tearjerker. This is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. So this really attached to my heartstrings. Hopefully you guys have seen or heard about this book. It was also made into a movie, but I just loved the passion in this book. I loved it. Really showcased the love of a caregiver and like someone going through a really hard thing like a disease or an illness. But I loved it. It says, Louisa Clark is an ordinary girl living in an exceedingly ordinary life. Steady boyfriend, close family who has barely been farther afield from her tiny village. She takes a badly needed job working for an ex-master of the universe, Will Trainer, who is wheelchair bound after an accident. Will has always lived a huge life. Big deals, extreme sports, worldwide travel, and he is not interested in exploring a new one. Will is moody, bossy, but Lou refuses to treat him with kid gloves, and soon his happiness means more to her than she expected. When she learns that Will has shocking plans of his own life, Lou sets out to show him that life is still worth living. Back it just says, Me Before You brings life to 2 people who couldn't have had less in common, a heartbreakingly romantic novel that says, what do you do when making the person you love happy also means breaking your own heart? This just hits my heartstrings. It's like connected, okay? I do plan to read the book after this. It's Me After You. I'm not ready. I'm not emotionally ready for this. So I've been kind of holding off because I love this so much. If you are into romance novels, this is it for me. So I really loved this book. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th book that I'm going to talk about is called Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. It is written by Gail Honeyman, I think. It says Reese's Book Club. I don't know what that means. I think Reese Witherspoon has like a book club or something. So this was a very funny, beautifully written book. It's a New York Times bestseller, and on the back it says, okay, soon to be a major motion picture produced by Reese Witherspoon. That is awesome. I would love to see this. This was such a hilarious and like witty novel. I loved it so much. On the back it says, no one's ever told Eleanor that life should be better than fine. Meet Eleanor Oliphant. She struggles with appropriate social skills and tends to say exactly what she's thinking. Nothing is missing in her carefully time-tabled life where weekends mostly consist of frozen pizza, vodka, and phone chats with Mummy. But everything changes when Eleanor meets Raymond, a bumbling IT guy from her office whose big heart will ultimately help Eleanor find her way to repair her own profoundly damaged one. Smart, warm, and uplifting, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine is the story of an out-of-the-ordinary heroine whose deadpan weirdness and wit make for an irresistible journey as she realizes the only way to survive is to open her heart. It was just so charming and witty and hilarious, and it really moved me. So I love this book so much. Definitely another one that was up there in one of my favorites. Here's another one that hits my heart, okay? And I've also learned that I love this author. This is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I could cry looking at the front of this because I just have so many feelings. This is kind of a long back, so if you want to fast forward, go ahead. Calla Fletcher wasn't even 2 when her mother took her and fled to Alaska, unable to handle the isolation of the extreme rural lifestyle, leaving behind Calla's father, Ren Fletcher, in the process. Calla never looked back, and at 26, a busy life in Toronto is all she knows. But when Calla learns that Ren's days may be numbered, she knows it's time to make the long trip back to the remote frontier town of her birth and to attempt to fix their estranged relationship. She braves the roaming wildlife, the odd daylight hours, and exorbitant prices, even the occasional "Dear God" outhouse, all for the chance to connect with her father, a man who, despite his many faults, she can't help but care for. While she struggles to adjust to this rugged new environment, Jonah, the unkempt, obnoxious Alaskan pilot who helps keep her father's charter plane company operational, can't imagine calling anywhere else home. And he's clearly waiting with one hand on the throttle to fly the city girl back to where she belongs, convinced that she's too pampered to handle the wild. Jonah is probably right, and Calla is determined to prove him wrong. As time passes, she unexpectedly finds herself forming a bond with the burly pilot. As his undercurrent of disapproval dwindles, it's replaced by friendships, or perhaps something deeper. But Calla is not in Alaska to stay, and Jonah will never leave. It would be foolish of her to kindle a romance, to take the same path her parents tried and failed at years ago. It's a simple truth that turns out to be not so simple after all. I love this book. It's like about a city girl going to Alaska, falling in love, trying to rekindle her relationship with her dad, and I just love it. So K.A. Tucker also just came out with another book. It's called Say You Still Love Me. That's the next book that came out, and I have it and I'm ready to read it. I love the way that K.A. Tucker wrote this book. It was just so intriguing and engaging to dive into a world of wilderness in Alaska. So I loved it. Next are some series books. I'm getting so hot. The first series I will say is Red Queen. So I do not have the first book. I actually loaned it to my mom to read, but these are the last 3 books. They're called Glass Sword, King's Cage, and War Storm. I am actually more than halfway through the last book, War Storm. So I will let you know how it goes, but so far it's so good. I would definitely say book 1, Red Queen, and book 3, King's Cage, are my favorites so far. I really, really, really love the storyline of this. Red Queen is definitely similar to the Hunger Games in that it's another society that's run a certain way and they're trying to change and revolutionize this society. The book description, it says, this is a world divided by blood, red or silver. The Reds are commoners, ruled by a silver elite in possession of godlike powers. Into Mare Barrow, a 17-year-old red girl from the poverty-stricken stilts, it seems like nothing will ever change. That is until she finds herself working in the Silver Palace. Here, surrounded by the people she hates the most, Mare discovers that despite her red blood, she possesses a deadly power of her own that threatens to destroy the balance of power. Fearful of Mare's potential, the Silvers hide her in plain view, declaring her a long-lost Silver Princess, now engaged to a Silver Prince. Despite knowing that one misstep would mean her death, Mare works silently to help the Red Guard, a militant resistance group, to bring down the Silver regime. But this is a world of betrayal and lies, and Mare has entered a dangerous dance. Reds against Silvers, Prince against Prince, and Mare against her own heart. It's so good, you guys. And these are big books. Oh my gosh. So I'm definitely excited to finish the last book in the series, but I wanted to include it just as an overall, this is a wonderful series and you guys should definitely read it. Before I die. Okay, I have 7 books because this is the Harry Potter series that I read in 2019, and here they all are. Oh my goodness. So I have all 7 of them. I did originally first read them on Audible, so I want to go through and reread the physical copies. I've had this one for forever, so it's just all sorts of janked up. Everyone knows what Harry Potter's about. I feel like I don't really have to read the back of that one. It's about a wizard. Harry Potter is the legit wizard of life, and it's just about Wizarding World and all that comes with it. So definitely want to recommend Harry Potter if you have not read it, because I, for one, did not read it when I was growing up. I just wasn't a part of that group. So I'm really excited that I got to read it. Let's see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, I'm running out. Okay, one that I do not have that I borrowed from a friend and I want to buy on the Thrift Books app is Caravel. That is what the book looks like. This is wonderful. It's so good. Okay, so there are 3 books in this series, and I do want to recommend the series. The first book is Caravel, the second book is Legendary, and then the third book is Finale. So I loved them all equally, probably Caravel the most. Here is the description of Caravel. Heads up, it is a young adult's book. Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caravel, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long-dreamt-of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only, as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caravel's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's Caravel revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything that happens during Caravel is only an elaborate performance. Nevertheless, she becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic. This would probably be my favorite series that I read in 2019. It's so freaking good, and if you guys have a chance to get your hands on it and read it, it's so good. Like, the whole time you're questioning, like, is this really a game like they say it is, or is it real? I don't even know. So that's one I would have to mention. Ooh, I'm down to 1 left. I have to choose one. I have to choose one? This is very hard. Okay, I have to choose this one. This is the last one. So I recently read this and it actually brought me to tears. This is the first book that I've read that I've actually cried over. This is called The Nightingale, and it's by Kristen Hanna. Oh, I don't even think I told you what Caravel, the author of Caravel, was. Caravel was written by Stephanie Garber, by the way. This is what the front of the book looks like, and I will read you what it says. This book has a 4.57 stars on Goodreads. It is a Choice 2005 winner, and I have seen nothing but amazing reviews about this book, so that's why I originally wanted to read it. And I borrowed it from the library, so I don't physically have it with me. Okay, here's the description. Despite their differences, sisters Vienne and Isabelle have always been close. Younger, bolder Isabelle lives in Paris, while Vienne is content with life in the French countryside with her husband Anton and their daughter. But when the Second World War strikes, Anton is sent to fight and Vienne finds herself isolated, so Isabelle is sent by her father to help her. As the war progresses, the sisters' relationship and strength are tested. With life changing in unbelievably horrific ways, Vienne and Isabelle will find themselves facing frightening situations and responding in ways they never thought possible as bravery and resistance take different forms in each of their actions. Yeah, it's about the Second World War and the Nazis in France and life and what that looks like and what they have to go through to survive. And that one just hits so hard because I'm just like, I have it so good. Like, life right now in the world compared to being in world wars is just like mind-blowing what people have to go through to survive in a war or in something like that. So had to include that. I think that's 10. It's very hard to choose. I read so many good books. So if you guys want me to keep the like yearly book and the monthly book favorites coming, then let me know that down in the comments. I love sharing this piece of myself with you, and it's definitely, as you can see, something I'm really getting into. So I want to be sharing that with you guys also, in addition to the makeup stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.